Hey everyone, welcome back. My name's Taylin and this is Dietitian with a Mission. Our featured ingredient are mushrooms. I've got two recipes for you today. The first is a total plant-based burger, the Portobello mushroom burger. The second are for those who can't quite commit to the concept of a burger without meat, and that's going to be the Mushroom Council's blend burger. I'm going to introduce you to our ingredients. So of course we have the featured ingredient, Portobello mushroom. When you have a collection of mushrooms, it's actually called Portobello mushrooms. We've got 3 cloves of garlic, some Italian seasoning, black pepper, coconut aminos, but you can of course use tamari or soy sauce, your oil of choice, I'll be using olive oil, and some balsamic vinegar. Like in any recipe, our first step is to wash our Portobello mushroom. I'm just going to take a damp paper towel, hold it by the stem, and remove off any dirt or debris. Now there is a myth out there that you can't wash your mushrooms, and you totally can. It's just that you don't want to soak them in water because mushrooms are mostly water anyways. So if you soak them, they become waterlogged, and they prevent the mushroom from sauteing, crisping up, or browning, which in most mushroom recipes is our objective. Then we're going to remove the stem. You can of course chop this up and saute it in any other mushroom-based recipe, or you can throw it in your compost. And then we're going to remove the gills. Now there's absolutely nothing wrong with eating the gills. They're perfectly safe to eat. They just also are mostly water, and they prevent our mushroom from absorbing our marinade. So I'm just removing it with a spoon. You're going to see brown remnants left over, and that's fine. The spores live in the gills, and the spores are the mushroom's version of a seed, because mushrooms don't have seeds per se. It's the spores that do the fertilizing. So that's what we're removing here. Okay, so once your mushroom is cleaned, stems removed, and gills are out, you can throw it in a bag. This is where our marinade's going to go into. So I'm going to do that with the rest of my mushrooms, and then we'll make our marinade. Let's prepare a marinade. I've got 3 cloves of garlic. I'm just going to take off the skins. And if this is hard for you to do, then you can take your knife on the flat side, take your palm, smash it, and then any residual skin would fall off at that point. Now we're going to mince our garlic. And mince is just a very, very fine chop. Mincing our garlic will allow the mushroom to absorb a lot of the garlic flavor without having giant chunks of garlic. Okay, go ahead and add that to your small mixing bowl. Now let's add 2 tablespoons of our tamari or soy sauce, or in my case, coconut aminos. Coconut aminos has a very similar flavor to soy sauce, or the gluten-free version of soy sauce, tamari, but it has a little bit more sweetness to it. Kind of like a teriyaki sauce does. Teriyaki is very umami, very savory, but it also has that sweetness to it. We're using the same amount of balsamic vinegar, 2 tablespoons, and half the amount of our oil of choice, extra virgin olive oil. I'm also seasoning it with 1.5 teaspoons of Italian seasoning, and then a good amount of black pepper, and give it a whisk. Now we can pour our marinade in our bag with our mushroom caps. Make sure you scoop out all of that seasoning. Give it a shake and let those flavors marinate. We're gonna let this sit for 30 minutes. You can of course let this sit overnight in the fridge as well, but no more than that. Let's start our blend burger. When you store your mushrooms in the fridge, make sure you store them in a brown paper bag. When you store them in the plastic container that many are sold in, they tend to go rancid and spoil and mold faster, and that's because the amount of condensation in that plastic container is too much and it's going to make them spoil. So keeping them in your brown paper bag with lots of ventilation will help prevent that. So you can wash off about a half pound of mushrooms with either the paper towel method I showed you earlier, or you can throw them in a sieve or a strainer and give them a quick rinse. Just make sure you dry them off with a paper towel. Let's slice our mushrooms. I've got a mixture of Baby Bella and Cremini. Remember, they're the same thing, just different ages. Now slicing them doesn't have to be uniform or pretty because these are actually going to be turned into a dice and mixing it in with our meat. These do have gills, but they're hidden because the top of the mushrooms are closed in, and so once you pull them apart, you can see the gills are exposed. We're going to do this several times until it turns into a finely diced pile of mushrooms. Ta-da! Now that our mushrooms are sliced, I'm going to go ahead and take a oil that can tolerate high heat. So this could be a canola oil, this could be a refined avocado oil. This has a smoke point up to 500 degrees, which is important because we actually want to cook our mushrooms on high heat, and that's to allow the moisture to evaporate as fast as possible. If we did a low heat, the moisture would stay kind of pooled and it would become mushy instead of giving us that meaty texture. So go ahead and add 1 tablespoon of oil to a heavy skillet. I've got a cast iron, and turn our heat on medium-high. To tell if our pan is hot enough, drop a piece of mushroom into the oil. You should hear a sizzle. I hear it, so I think we're good to go. If you see any large pieces of mushroom, you can break them up with your finger. Not all pieces need to be uniform in size though. I think it helps give the burger a nice texture. Spread out your mushrooms evenly and then try not to touch them. Allow that bottom layer to really hit that high heat, having that liquid evaporate and turning into that dark brown caramelized color and flavor. This process will really give your burgers that umami flavor, and it will remove that kind of earthy dirt flavor that many people identify with mushrooms. Okay, let's take a large mixing bowl and add our ground meat. So we're just going to use our clean hands and work the seasoning into our meat. You might want to remove your jewelry for that one. Many people have a tendency to overwork their meat, and this creates for a tough burger. So we just want it to be well incorporated with our seasoning. Okay, that looks pretty good. The mushrooms have been on the stove for about 4 minutes, and they have a total cooking time for about 7 to 8, so let's check on them. We can see how dramatically these mushrooms have reduced in size. I mean, it was like up to here, and now they're down. And these pieces are so small, and that's because of the evaporation. So I think now is a good time to give it a stir. Ooh, do you see that browning on the bottom? If you had been stirring them constantly, we wouldn't have had that browning. Now I'll go ahead and lay them out again. evenly across the pan. And then let them cook for, 3 minutes more to get some more browning to happen. Okay, it looks like the mushrooms are done browning. You can see how beautiful and caramelized this looks. I'm going to turn off the heat, remove this from the aisle, and let it cool down. Carefully add your mushrooms to your bowl with your ground meat. While our mushroom meat combination is cooling, I've got my flat top grill heating up. And if you have a grill with the grooves in it to give it those grill marks, please use that. So I'm going to add just a little bit of oil to my pan to prevent it from sticking. Remove my mushrooms from their marinade. Shake off any extra marinade and place them on the grill. It smells so unbelievably good. Unlike beef burgers, you can press these down. And in fact, you want to. Because there's so much moisture in here, we want to squeeze out a lot of it. Not all of it, but a lot of it. So we're going to cook them for about 10 minutes on each side. And while this is cooking, I'm going to gather my mushroom meat blend burger, form them into patties, and place them on this grill. Just gonna take the mixture, divide it into fourths, if you will. If you want to be really precise, you can go ahead and put some parchment paper down on a food scale and weigh them, and you'll have the right ounce amount for each burger. I mean, those look about uniform in size, I would say, don't you think? I'm gonna splash the pan with some water. I heard that heat evaporate the water so quickly and I got all the sizzling sounds, so I know this is ready. My pan is pretty well oiled because it's a cast iron skillet and I season it often, but I am gonna add another tablespoon of oil to the skillet. This will prevent the sticking. Okay, let's go ahead and add them to our stovetop. Take your thumb, do a little indentation in the middle. This will help them from poofing up. While everything's cooking, I've cleaned up my station and I've prepped my burger toppings. You can top these burgers with literally anything. It's a burger. With cooking burgers, there's this intense desire to check the bottom of the burgers and check the meat to see if it's browned. But you don't want to do that because you risk breaking apart your burger. So try to only flip it or check it when you're ready to flip it. I can see that the edges are starting to brown. They're starting to come up a bit. I'm going to go ahead and give one a flip. Oh my gosh, look at that crispness. Look at that golden brown. It's delightful. They're definitely ready to be flipped. If you're unsure if your burgers are ready, you always want to use a meat thermometer. This one's pretty nifty. It tells us when our meat is rare, medium, or well, and then it also tells us if our fish and poultry is ready. Now remember, I used ground turkey, so I'm going to use the poultry. So I just insert it in the patty. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I pull it out, and I can see that the poultry section was green for just a split second and then turned black. So this isn't ready. And I know this because I literally just flipped them and I saw how pink the other sides were. If it were fish, it would be ready because the blue side stayed blue for quite some time. If it were beef, it would be ready because the red side is still red for rare. If you have leftover mushroom marinade, you can go ahead and pour it on top of your mushrooms. Okay, let's check these bad boys. At an angle, stick it in there. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, look at that. It's bright green. It's staying green. We're good to go. Our mushroom burgers are also ready to go. I flipped them back over to where we started so you could see that beautiful browning that took place, that caramelization. But now I'm going to go ahead and take them off the stove and let them cool down a bit. Our burgers are complete. They smell amazing. And I'll tell you something, I already had a bite of just the mushroom as is. Oh my gosh, it's so good. I'm so excited to try these burgers. Okay, first let me do the all mushroom one. So thick. This is really good, very flavorful. I might just make this one bun only so I can enjoy all the goodness of the center. I have to remember, like, I still have this other burger I need to eat. Okay, that was so delicious. Let's try our blend burger. This is so good. There is so much flavor in this burger because of our homemade burger spice blend. If you said you didn't like the taste of mushrooms, you wouldn't know. You wouldn't know. I would even do more mushrooms because the mushrooms, they have that high water content. So they're gonna keep the burger moist. Might as well do a pound of mushrooms. Great way to feed the family mushrooms without them even knowing it. Enjoy. Until next time.